Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem. Let me break it down, tell you what I think of the film, and also kind of talk about a couple of the controversies. April O'Neil, the Splinter thing, give you kind of a rundown, tell you the truth. I am Pops. Let's get into it. All right, everybody. I am Pops, and Mutant Mayhem kind of becomes something, a film that I kind of put on the back burner. I enjoy Ninja Turtles, love the comic books, enjoyed some of the films and adaptations along the way. My kids grew up and loved this stuff. So when I saw some of the original design, some of the changes that have been done, I'm going to get to that in more details in a minute. I was really kind of turned off. Seth Rogen's attached to it, not a fan. Just some of those things kind of piled up, and I just sort of like put it on the back burner. But someone close to me gave it a little thumbs up, thought I'd give it a go. So the film has actually got a pretty tight story in the sense that it is a Ninja Turtle story. Like it sort of is an amalgam of Secret of the Ooze, the first film, a couple of the other projects, and some of the comic book material. So I don't feel like this is a bad film. It's basically just centers around Baxter, the creator of this mutagen, which is, they call it the ooze. He's experimenting with a housefly, the little baby turtles. Of course, there's this research group that hates mutants, are hunting them down. Her name is Cynthia Utrom, and she's sort of like an antagonist, but she's sort of like the secondary antagonist, and I think she'll be relevant, and I'm pretty certain she'll be relevant moving forward. She attacks with Baxter. The ooze gets out into the wild. You run into with Splinter, saving the turtles when they're babies and raises them up. Splinter, though, is a different kind of Splinter. There's no real Japanese heritage here. It's more of just a rat trying to survive. He hates humans because they don't like rats. And he raises them up to hate humans and be fearful of humans because they'll be experimented on. He has this ongoing joke about milk them. Okay, fair enough. Then we run into April later on, who has been radically changed in her design. We'll talk about that more in a minute. She's not a journalist, but she's aspiring, but she's a viral sensation where she got stressed out, vomited on camera, and, you know, she's kind of been mocked and belittled as well. She just kind of wants to fit in. The real villain of the film is called Superfly. Ice Cube is the voice of this character who basically is that housefly and wants to get a hold of the ooze and continue to make more mutants. He'd rescued the other mutants. So that's how we end up with Rocksteady and Bebop. It's how we end up with basically a menagerie of different mutants along the way. And they all have different interesting little quirks and personalities and things like that. So overall, this movie actually moves. It's only like a little over 90 minutes. It moves very, very quickly. It's edited well. There's plenty of great footage and homage and things that I think actually work. So let me get to the shot here real quick. Show you a couple things. I think from one of the trailers. There are some great moments very early on in this trailer, even where you sort of kind of like you have this shot coming up right here where they're jumping over rooftops. I thought that was done extremely well. The film itself, like the animation here, you can see the stealth run stuff where they're going to go on like supply runs and stuff. There's a weird sort of like separation from reality that we have to have. I may have missed. Did I miss that they pay for any of this stuff? And if so, how do they pay for any of this stuff? So it's like they break up robberies, but they're actually robbers themselves. So there are great moments. I like the actual initial introduction to them with their mask with the white, the whites out their eyes, but that's not something that stays consistent. This is the normal look. When you look at stills and even some of the trailers, it doesn't look as good as it actually does in the film. I thought in the film it actually looked. I was shocked that it actually worked and looked a lot better. Yeah, I hated the fact that they promoted it with Seth Rogen's name. That's actually a negative, not a positive, guys. Sorry to tell you. I didn't really. We'll get to her. All right, so let's just get right to that because this is probably one of the biggest divisive things. Is this is not April O'Neil. This is a radically changed character. She is very young. She's a teenager in a high school. She obviously is black. She's obviously got glasses. She is like I don't want to say ghetto, but it's just like it's all into like that sort of like street slang and some of that kind of stuff. And I just this was one of the biggest negatives is that EO, what's how you say her? EO Adebari, I think is how you say her name. Yeah, anyway, so her cosplaying as April O'Neil doesn't make it April O'Neil. That's basically the long and short of it. The story arc is fine. The story itself is fine. I really just wish they would have just made her maybe an aspiring journalist that's older than them, a human girl who's, pretty and voluptuous that they're all going to be attracted to and all that kind of stuff. Instead, it's just like this weird, quirky, nerdy girl and doesn't work at all in that realm. If you're really attached to that as being a big dividing point, I totally get it. As I said, the other early thing that is worth mentioning is before I get to the Splinter controversy, let me address Splinter. I really don't like Splinter's. His design is off at times, but more importantly, there's no backstory with ties to Japan. It's I teach you ninjutsu so you can fight against humans and protect yourselves. And so I don't know how we're going to move forward and make that work because they obviously do have a credit scene, which I'll talk about at the end if you don't want to hear that. I get it. I just don't think that any of that being lost is good for the franchise. I like the fact that there was a Japanese heritage in the samurais and the martial arts. The fact that all of it is they taught themselves by watching a bunch of movies. It doesn't work for me. I didn't care for that. But like I said, the story itself is not really awful or anything like that. I really enjoyed it. And there are plenty of good moments and things that come into play that were fun. I enjoyed a lot of that, and some of their moments are exceptionally well done. Okay, I briefly mentioned the April thing. Let me get to Splinter because the Splinter thing was he's gay, and it's all because there was a poster. Because at the end of the movie, and there's a couple of lines that lead up to this, Splinter's falling for the cockroach. Okay. The cockroach in the poster is about, quote, his name is Scumbag. He's a mutant cockroach, and something about being himself. Or it says himself in the poster. But they pulled that down. They've disavowed that. Jeff Rowe, who directed and co-wrote this, said no, it was always supposed to be a female character. There are lines in the movie, at least 2 lines for sure, about it being, girl cockroach, or I think I like her, Splinter says. And of course, all right, so we give Jeff Rowe benefit of the doubt. All right, I understand if you don't want to. Hollywood doesn't deserve our benefit of the doubt. They change April O'Neil, they change other elements. They do this stuff regularly. They have an agenda to do so. But that means they would have edited and changed the movie that last minute in response to this controversy. I don't see it. So I'm willing to give him benefit of the doubt. We'll see how it kind of plays out. It would be completely silly and ludicrous to try to, just shoehorn that in, especially when you have all this opportunity for other mutants. I just don't understand this opportunity. Why change April? Why change that? So it's just do the story, and then you can add these other elements that come into it. There's no reason not to. You can just do it. Fine. No one's going to care. So anyway, that's my take on it. I'd love to see if any of you watch it. You want to watch it, what your thoughts are. Anyway, that's my general review on it. Thank you so much for watching. I am Pops.
Yeah.